Welcome back into the South Jersey Sports Report here on 97.3 ESPN. Your host, Sully from Glory Days Magazine. Check us out, glorydaysonline.com, facebook.com/AC Glory Days. You can also give me a follow on Twitter at GD Sully Says. Follow my man Nick Costco on Twitter at Nick Costco59. That's Costco with a K. 2 Ks. We're starting off the second hour of the South Jersey Sports Report as we do each and every week with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Get his take on South Jersey high school sports. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Sully, how are you?
Pretty good, man. How's things rolling for you?
Pretty good last night out at the Seagull Classic down in Wildwood last week in Southern Regional for some holiday basketball. And I guess, what are we now, 2 or 3 weeks into the season? And again, as I say about, I said this about the high school sports season in the fall. I said this about the high school basketball season in the winter. I think the Mainland Regional girls played Gloucester Catholic today at the Seagull Classic at Holy Spirit in a huge game. That'll be Mainland's 8th game of the season, so practically a third of the basketball season already in the books for Mainland and a lot of teams. And it's really amazing how fast these seasons go by.
Yeah, it's hard to think of it in that way as a sports reporter because you're trying to get to different teams and you may have only seen each team once, just haven't seen a lot of teams yet, and all of a sudden it's a third of the way through the season, and you're like, geez, I got to get out and see some of these teams. But and it's great when you have tournaments like this, you can see 5, 6, 7 teams in a weekend, which makes it good.
Yeah, well, that's great about what I love about these events and what I love about basketball in general. Football, you can really only go to a game on Friday night and a game on Saturday. But basketball, you can sit there at the Seagull Classic this weekend. I think in our Press Elite 11, they have 9 of the 11 ranked boys teams in South Jersey in our Elite 11. So you can get a handle on, pretty much all the elite teams in South Jersey by going to these events. And there's nothing like seeing a team, putting a team through the eye test. It's one thing to sort of read about them or hear about them, but it's another thing to sort of see them in person. So that's what's really great about these events, and it gives you a chance to really see, all the top teams in South Jersey. And now there's just about one every weekend. It's amazing. You have the Ocean City PBA tip-off weekend to start the season. Then you're down at Wildwood and Southern Regional during the holidays. And now you're at Holy Spirit this weekend. And the next weekend you got the Shoot Down Cancer Foundation showcase event out at St. Augustine. So, and then the following weekend after that is the big event up at Rancocas Valley. So, and then the Battle by the Bay at Atlantic City. So they just never seem to end right up until the Cape Atlantic League tournament begins on February 15th.
So you got to kind of take Mondays and Tuesdays off, right?
Yeah, you got to catch your breath on Monday. I don't know. That's the other thing about the winter season. I mean, there's just something great happening 7 days a week, not only in basketball, but in wrestling, swimming, and don't forget indoor track. I mean, our indoor track athletes, Claudine Smith, Lauren Prince, the Craig girl who's a freshman at Millville. Those girls, they were in my list this week, the top 10 list that we put in the paper on Friday and is on pressofac.com. They're off to spectacular start. So it's really been kind of a head-spinning start to the winter season.
Yeah, you don't really see much action on Sundays in the fall with soccer and football, but when you get to the winter, there's something Saturdays, Sundays, and sometimes as a sports reporter, you kind of got to go, all right, I'm going to take Monday afternoon off or Wednesday, or you got to try to find some time to get some time off and catch your breath.
Yeah, I mean, what I tell people all the time from my perspective, and I don't know how much people are interested in the life of times of Mike McGarry, but the high school football season rolls to a rhythm. You've got games on Friday and Saturday. Sunday you kind of look back at what happened this past weekend. Monday you begin to you catch your breath a little bit and begin to peer ahead, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday you begin to build towards those Friday games where, like basketball, I think you've got the big games at Holy Spirit with the Seagull this week. Monday you've got one of those huge Cape Atlantic League games that will affect the Cape Atlantic League tournament. EHT boys and Lower Cape May boys in a game that is going to impact. People are going to look at when it comes time to see who's going to be in that Cape Atlantic League tournament. Then Tuesday night you've got the Wildwood Catholic boys traveling to St. Augustine. You've got the Mainland and Ocean City boys meeting, and Wednesday of next week you've got the renovated Atlantic City gym hosting its first game. And appropriately it will be Holy Spirit at Atlantic City that that night. So that kind of works out perfect for the Vikings. I can't think of any better team for Atlantic City to host in the first game in their renovated gym. So that's just an indication of kind of what happens on the high school level there.
Talking with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. And, Mike, is there any particular game this weekend at the Seagull that you're really interested in? I mean, obviously there's some great matchups throughout the day today and tomorrow. You got the big game, Pleasantville, Holy Spirit, capping things off tomorrow night at 7. Tonight is that huge game, Camden and the Patrick School. So you can kind of just show up to that gym anytime today or tomorrow and see a great game. Which ones do you have your eye on?
Yeah, I mean, it starts. I mean, I think the first game today is 10 a.m. is Holy Spirit Delsey, and then at 11:30 you've got Mainland versus Gloucester Catholic Girls. That was a great game last year where Mainland won in overtime. Mainland, of course, has Kylie Watson, one of the top juniors in the country. Gloucester Catholic has Azana Baines, who's headed to Duke. Gloucester Catholic, I think that they're, and Mainland are both in our Elite 11. Gloucester Catholic, a premier program, is going to walk into Holy Spirit, primed to avenge last season's defeat. So that's a great game to look at. You get a chance today to see Marcellus Ross of St. Joe. They play Rancocas Valley. I did a nice feature on Marcellus. He was on My Life this week. You can still find that online. 1,694 career points, I believe. Great kid. Actually born in Kansas City. His dad was in the Army, spent, his first couple of years in Germany, moved to North Carolina, now to New Jersey, and kind of leading a St. Joe team that, many think is one of the top teams in the Cape Atlantic League. And then you've got, Haddonfield versus Linden out there. Haddonfield, number 1 in our Elite 11. Linden, one of the top teams in the state. St. Augustine and Moorestown, again, 2 Elite 11 teams there. And then you mentioned, Middle Township Eastern today, and then the Patrick School versus Camden in a game that'll probably pack Holy Spirit tonight. Tomorrow, again, Wildwood Catholic takes on the Patrick School at about, I think it's a 3:30 game. The times are beginning to blend together a little bit.
3:30.
That's an interesting game. Wildwood Catholic, of course, number 3 in our Elite 11, kind of lived up to the preseason hype, although they had a tough time with Cape May Tech the other night. At Cape May Tech, a place where Wildwood Catholic always seems to have some struggles throughout the years, but it'll be interesting to, again, watch the Crusaders test themselves against, one of the state's best teams.
Mike, tell our listening audience, a lot of people out there listening probably haven't seen the Gloucester Catholic girls, but this Baines girl, she's an incredible talent. I mean, I remember watching her last year and thinking, this is definitely a girl that grew up playing on the playground against boys. She just has some of those moves that you only get from playing great competition when you're a young kid. And, man, she was everything that Mainland could handle. And when they got out of there with a win in overtime, I think Coach Betson was glad he didn't have to see her again for another year.
Yeah, she kind of reminds me, although obviously she hasn't scored as many points as Monica Johnson of Wildwood did in the early 2000s. But she kind of reminds me as kind of a taller version of Monica Johnson with her ability to sort of break teams down off the dribble, penetrate, get in the lane and create shots for herself and her teammates. So, again, I think, if I remember back to that game last year, I think she had 24, 25 points. It was a great game. And I think she might have fouled out, too, in the overtime period. So, again, Mainland and Gloucester Catholic, that's one of the great things about these showcase games. I mean, sometimes teams hook up, you see the same teams sort of renew a rivalry game in each one of these showcases. So, Atlantic City, Pleasantville, the Battle by the Bay. So you might get a 2 or 3 year run where teams agree to play each other at one of these showcases. And if you like good basketball, a chance to see Baines and Watts and there's not 2 more highly recruited boys or girls players at the Seagull Classic this weekend than those 2 girls.
Talking with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. And Mike, taking a look at the Cape Atlantic League, who really jumps out at you as a surprise team? I know Lower Cape May boys have gotten off to a great start. ACIT girls are undefeated at 6-0, leading the Cal American. Who's really been the biggest surprise, do you think, this year?
Well, I think the biggest surprise is somebody that was in our list again on Friday. Is the Alma Villagers, the girls team. They're 5-0. They've got a great sophomore there. They added a transfer from Paul VI who's really given them an additional scoring. I mean, they're 5-0, and that's a program that has kind of struggled for years. I think a couple of years ago they had a pretty good season, but they weren't able to consistently keep anything consistent. And now you look at right there, and Alma was 5-0, heading into the New Year break. So I think if you're going to take a team that's a surprise, I mean, Alma certainly qualifies right there.
And, Mike, I think one of the really exciting races to watch the next 3 or 4 weeks is going to be that Cal United on the boys' side. You have Pleasantville, Wildwood Catholic, Middle Township. Throw them in there, and some of those other teams. And what a great division. Normally, that's a kind of an afterthought, that division. But like Coach Dave Dewey said last week, might be the best division in the Cal this year.
Yeah, I think you can make a case for it certainly being it is. And to me, another great division is that Cal National Division. I think, Holy Spirit, Ocean City, Lower Cape May, Mainland, and the other teams in that division, Absegami, Cedar Creek, Oakcrest. You kind of look at this week, Ocean City and Holy Spirit play Thursday night. They go right to the wire. Isaiah Jarena hits a three-pointer with 24 seconds left to give Holy Spirit the win. I think each time, especially those top teams in the division, Holy Spirit, Ocean City, Mainland, Lower Cape May hook up, you're going to see a game go right to the wire. They're just going to be great games to watch. And, as those teams compete for the division's 2 spots in the Cape Atlantic League tournament and might try to put themselves in position to get a wild card. So I think that national division from a competitive balance is also going to be, equally entertaining. But there's no doubt the United with games coming up, St. Joe Wildwood Catholic, Wildwood Catholic Pleasantville rematch, St. Joe Wildwood Catholic, St. Joe Pleasantville. Don't forget about Middle Township in that division also. Cape May Tech proved this week. Wildwood Catholic goes in there and only wins by 7 or 8 points. Cape May Tech proves that they can't, be looked past. So, I think you're right, but I think you've got an extremely competitive Cape Atlantic League this year.
It's crazy, man. There could be upwards of 6 teams going for those 2 wildcard spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what makes games like sometimes crossover games that you kind of look without a Cape Atlantic League tournament. It might just be schedule fillers or throwaway games like Lower Cape May and Egg Harbor Township, where teams would say, yeah, you want to win them because you want to get this, you want to qualify for the state tournament. You want the power points to help your state tournament seed. But now that game even has more meaning because, Egg Harbor Township, I think they're 4-4 coming out of the new year, but they've got the big win over Atlantic City in overtime in December. So, that kind of puts them in position to sort of maybe look to finish 3rd place or 2nd place in that, in the American division, puts them in contention for the wild card spot. And when the seating committee looks at, who can make that wild card spot, they're going to look at crossover games like Lower Cape May and EHT to see, to kind of decide that.
Great stuff as always, Mike. We appreciate you taking a few minutes, and we'll catch up with you next week. We'll see you out there in a couple hours, I'm sure, for the Seagull, and get your pen ready. Make sure you got a couple extra pens. It's going to be a long weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to run a few errands and then head right down the Parkway to Holy Spirit. Should be a great day of basketball today and tomorrow, and then continue what is a great season of basketball. So thanks for a few minutes, Sully. We'll catch up with you down the road. Thanks.
You got it, man. Thanks, bud.
All right, see you later.